All right, buddy. No countdown, no bullshit. We are already live.
Let's go. You had no countdown. So
no countdown. We just went for it. So, we don't need to do that. We're just live now. And,
exactly, everybody. So thanks for joining us on the show. Another episode of Can-Am Connection. And before we get started, you guys know the drill. Make sure you do not forget to like and subscribe.
Yeah. And head on to Jody's channel because the link is in the description, and hit subscribe there as well. Where do you want to start, my friend?
Quick 30-second story. Did I tell you? Did you see what I posted yesterday? So I'm on the plane. We're going through at the airport. We're going through security, and they detained my backpack going through, security, and they pulled me aside, and everybody was kind of gawking at me, and they're like, "Sir, whose bag is it?" Like, "Oh, it's my bag. I'm waiting on my bag. Can you step to the side, sir?" I'm thinking, okay. And they're like, "Is there anything in this bag that will stick me, poke me, or hurt me?" I'm like, "No." And so my wife's looking at me like, "What, did you forget something?" I was like, "I don't know what's in there." And guy puts his gloves on, goes in my bag, starts pulling out stuff. The pillow I got for the plane, and then he pulls out my hand gripper. So he goes, "You're clear, sir. Keep those arms strong." So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, I've had similar scenarios like that, and just weird stuff they pull out, and it's always a conversation because I never really say what I'm doing down there. But when I go through customs, my wife's like, "My husband's an arm wrestler," and then I got a story to tell and ask a bunch of questions, and 50% of the time they say, "Do you know Devin Larratt?" Yeah.
Like a slap in the face.
Yeah, I know him. Yeah.
What do you want to start off with today, man? Good morning, guys in the chat. Good morning.
Yeah, Richard is in there. Not my monkeys, not my circus is in there. Let's go with my events. Let's go with Texas Arm Wrestling League.
Let's do it.
Which one do you want to start with? I mean, let's go right down to my memory is not what it used to be. Cory West versus Mega Mike.
You know what? Because there were so many events going on Saturday that it was hard for me to keep up, and I was involved in one, so it was really difficult for me to kind of keep tabs on who was doing what. But that was one match I wanted to see, but I did not get to see. But since you were there in person, you can give more insight on that.
It was a beating. Like Mega Mike, it went hook down, just same thing every time. Mega Mike is not a humongous guy.
Right.
Cory West is. Big power, just too much for him. And it was a beating. Cory looked really comfortable. Didn't really have to do anything but power him straight down on a hook. Which is good because Cory's got John Brzenk coming up on the right arm.
Yes. At the Monster Factory in July. Yes.
That's not that far away.
No, it's not.
So there's not a ton to talk about there. But then we got Brandon Alcesor pulling
Jonathan Brita.
Let's go Brita. Left arm. Brita looked amazing. He looked in complete control in that match. And while they were longer matches, Billy Berg's in the house. Sap the B. While there were longer matches, Kerrer won. Who interesting. Jonathan always had control. Hand control, back pressure, looked really solid, really strong. Jonathan's left is legit.
I expect Brita to be on Arm Wars at some point real soon. And I know he was on the last East vs. West 2. Didn't fare well, but, I think from learning from that, he's kind of ramped his game up a little bit. And I'm glad he got it out there, Speaking of Arm Wars, did you see Uncle John's latest video?
I haven't yet.
It's about how to be on Arm Wars. He gave, specifics on, hey, a 1 minute, monologue on why I should be on Arm Wars and some clips of your matches and things like that. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
That's interesting.
Neither here nor there.
I got to tell you, from the time that I arm wrestled Cory until now, I have watched one arm wrestling related video. The only one I have watched is Matt Mask talking about his match and shaving his head. That's it.
Wow.
So I'll cover that when we get into the other one. I didn't, I went into a bit of a funk after that. So then we got, let's go El Cesar versus Dimitri.
I did not see that match yet, but once again, you were there, so you can give us more insight on that. How'd that go?
It's a crazy match. Crazy match. Dimitri just looked like he was going to sweep him. He beat him the first two matches real easy. And then Brandon found a lane and won the next two. And then it was, I believe it ended on fouls in the fifth. But wow, that was a good match. And it came out of nowhere. Kind of like something like along the line of Dave Chaffee looking so comfortable and then somebody coming back and giving him hell.
You know what? We'll hit on those.
We'll get on those, but I mean, that's what it looked like. But we got Dimitri coming out, and Brandon, I don't think he lost anything in those losses.
Right.
Still look good. Still look solid.
Well, what about your match? Because that was like the marquee of the tournament. Yes,
that was the main event. Yeah. I don't have a ton to say. Cory, I know what I got to do. I know what I got to do next time. I know what I got to do, what I got to not do. And Cory came in ready, and I think he expected more from me, and I expected more from myself, and I did not deliver. So it's Cory takes the win. There were small little holes that I found, but I did not have the power that day to capitalize on those.
So, question, in saying that, do you think Cory is one of those guys that's ready for the big time? And what I mean by that, do you think he's ready for Arm Wars? Do you think he's ready for East versus West or a PAL event, something like that? Because now, the last couple of years, the new breed of super heavyweights, it was always those three guys that were tied together, Chan Shaw, Cory West, and Derek Smith. And now it's looking like these days, Cory West is kind of rising above those guys,
Well, an interesting thing happened overall. I think on the weekend, I think you saw Derek maybe move down just a touch, and maybe Chance and Cory I think definitely Cory's at the top of those three. And I think he's ready. His matchmaking would be very important. But if you were to stick him against like let's say left-handed, you put him against Morozov, that'd be a good match.
Right.
Right-handed, you stick him against a guy like Sporong, great match. And those are just tests, because I think Cory wins both of those.
I got a question, and I may be jumping the gun on this, but I saw the comment come up, and I don't want to forget this question. Can we move over to the East versus West topic?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. First things first, Sap the B, Billy Berg, what's going on? Kenny Ferguson's in the house. Warren, how you doing? Sap the B says, does Dave Chaffee versus Derek Smith hold any interest for you now? I mean, both guys are coming off a loss, let's be real. But does it hold any interest?
I would much rather see Derek pull somebody that isn't right at the top of the food chain. And Dave Chaffee is still there. Like, whatever you want to say, if that match was best out of three, Dave Chaffee wins it, right? If he has the power to pull those guys, he did not have the stamina on that particular day. So I don't know. I don't think so. I think that Derek just needs to take one tier down from Dave Chaffee for now, because you don't want to follow up a loss with a loss. You want to get in there and do something, get back on track. And I know he wants to just pull up, but man, there's a lot of guys that you could consider up right now. Like pull. I don't even think you should pull Cory West, to be honest with you. I think you should pull, Matt Mask.
I think you should.
I think Derek Smith versus Matt Mask is a great match.
That's an interesting match. And when Derek beat Tim Brzenk, and then he got leaped over the in the Hook rankings, and that was the big, discussion right after that week. And I remember because I was talking to Corey West, right after that match Derek had with Brzenk, and I'm like going, hey, what are your thoughts? This, that, the other, and it was intriguing because Corey was like, hey, I'm willing to challenge anybody, and Derek's route is a little different. Not that he's scared, but he's like, you know what? I want to keep going up. But all it takes is that upper tier guy to say yes or no. So basically, you're waiting on that guy to say yay or nay. But after the fallout from East versus West, and I was glad Derek got the opportunity just so he can see for himself and everybody else where exactly does he stand. Meanwhile, here's Cory just climbing the ladder. Chance Shaw, love the guy, good friends with, but he's taking some L's lately. Maybe it's because some of these guys are biting off more they can chew. Like you said, Ryan, hey, you're going for the upper tier guys. There's guys before that, gatekeepers, call them what you want, that propose a better match right now anyway.
There's a ton of those guys. Like, has Derek ever pulled Wayne Withers? I don't know that he has.
I don't know. Good question.
There's a lot of guys out there that, Cory's ready. I'd like to see Derek. You froze for a minute there, Jody, but your eyes were closed like this the whole time.
Sorry.
I hardwired my computer, so my internet issues should be gone.
Good.
Yeah. Man, there's a lot of guys out there for him to pull. There's a lot of opportunity. And there's a question in here, not my monkeys, not my circus, says, are arm wrestlers arm wrestling too frequently at the moment, i.e. not recovering sufficiently? I don't think that's the case. I think that maybe it's a matter of not arm wrestling enough in the past 2 years.
Table rust.
Yeah. Because the one thing I picked out about the Dave Chaffee Gennady match, and it was commented on by other people, is how excited Gennady got after his first loss, like he found a lane.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very telling to me that, all he had to do, like, he was smart enough to just find that one little spot that he needed to get to win that match, and he did it. Maybe a rematch with him and Hermes would be good as well, Gennady, since we're on that subject. But I don't know, man. It's matchmaking is going to be very important over the next little while.
I would say, my opinion, not saying that my opinion is the correct one, but I'd be careful on rematches because you don't want to start turning into WAL where you just recycle the same matches over and over.
Yeah.
Because then all of a sudden it loses luster. I mean, I'm a fan of it, so I'll watch it regardless. But there comes a time where in WAL, we all sat there, we all said it. Some of us said it out loud, some of us kind of kept it to ourselves. How many more times do we need to see Michael Todd, Jerry Cataract?
Yeah, true enough.
As an example, how many more times do we need to see that kind of stuff? We've seen it, done it. You can only recycle the same matches over and over before it gets okay. We need something different. So I'd be real hesitant as far as rematches, because what we're seeing with these East versus West, these winners and stuff, they create different opportunities. Because now the minute East versus West was done, the very first thing I heard was that, hey, John Brzenk, Todd Hutchings needs to happen.
No, it doesn't.
That's what they were saying. That's what everybody was saying needs to happen.
Maybe over here. They can do that over here, but
no, I'm not saying go over there and do it.
Oh yeah.
I'm just saying they need to have a match.
Sure they could, but I don't know if that needs to happen quite yet.
No, these guys are just momentum, but I was excited, but I was, in Hawthorne, Nevada, getting ready for my event, and, walked into the venue and they had it on, thinking, oh, sweet, cool, we can watch that. And everybody was, going for the West, obviously, right? So, but we saw Matt Mask, and I was like, scratching my head. Was impressed with Paul Lynn. I was like,
yeah, how can you not be? Paul Lynn's an athlete. He came in there and did what he needed to do. can't believe we almost forgot to talk about him during our prediction show with Cody and I last week. Like,
Right.
Paul. Yeah, and Paul comes in and, you know, gets one for the West.
And like I said, we all like, okay, we're sending our big heavy hitters over there. You know, Barbosa, he won left-handed. I can't remember if he won right-handed.
I think he did. Yeah.
So, I mean, kudos to him because, you know, he needs to be back on that upper echelon. Todd Zilla, you expected. John Brzenk, you expected to close the show out. Michael Todd is kind of like, I don't know what's going on with him.
I don't know either, but when we touch on Marcio, the one comment I want to make is I think people need to realize that Marcio, out of all those guys, probably has more experience pulling internationally than just about anybody. Like he stuck in that WAF circuit for a couple decades, and he multiple world titles, starting at 187 pounds and just working his way up. Marcio has had an amazing career, is used to all rule sets, and probably, in my opinion, was one of the most comfortable looking guys over there getting set up in that situation. Matt might have looked like the most uncomfortable guy getting set up over there.
Yeah, he was getting frustrated. His hair was going, whatever hair he had left was going everywhere. And, you know, GB said Marshall looked great as well. Yes, he did. I'm glad. Even Kenny Ferguson mentioned that he's glad that he kept that elbow on the pad. So I'm glad.
Now, GB, Ryan, you think Cory beats Cody left? I don't think so. I don't think so. There's some reasons for me to think that, but I just think Cody is too strong right now. Cody's still a match that I want, but I got to work my way back to it, and I fully understand and expect that.
You know, and here's the thing. As I'm texting a buddy of mine, sorry. The thing is, you gotta look at it this way. I pulled Cody Merritt this past weekend by accident. Quick story. When you go on vacation the week before an event and then you think you're going to make weight, no. I was 5 pounds over, so that put me into the supers, right? So I'm in the class with Ron Bath and Robbie Topi, Cody Merritt, and Tony Tomlinson, and the list goes on and on. I'm all of 237. So, yeah, I missed the weight class by 5 pounds. So that put me there. And my two losses came to Cody Merritt and Tony Tomlinson. So there you go. You know, they taught me that I should probably stay in my own weight class, but that's my own doing. So, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is. I mean, you got built some good guys. Did Cody pull the left-handed tournament?
Yeah.
And
as expected, he won.
Yeah. Anyone slow him down?
Bath slowed him down, but I think that was right-handed though. But yeah, his left is just it's on a different scale. I mean, first of all, his hand's like a softball. Like when you grip his hand, it's like gripping a softball. Like you can't do anything with it. It's like when you close your hand on Cody Merritt, it's like your hand is still open. If that makes any sense. So there's always that, but he was just so dominant, but it was fun, you know, watching those guys get after it. What's saddening is that the fact that we only had maybe 75 entries that tournament. But you got to remember, though, for those that don't know out there, the Hawthorne event it's in the middle of nowhere, Nevada, right? And it's a military town, but the array of talent that comes every year is astronomical. Problem is that it's a UAL event put on by Bill Collins, right? So let's take that for interest. He runs that event. However, guess what? The same day, another event by UAL was being ran in California. The only reason why that happened was because the LA Expo takes place in January, right? LA. Well, at that time, the mandate said, no, hey, we're not doing that. They postponed everything. So they moved it to May 21st just happens to be the same weekend as here we are, Hawthorne. So they had to split everything. So now Bill Collins is running the Kenny Bostic Memorial in Hawthorne, and his son is running the LA Expo. So we had to split the talent pool. So that's why we only got about 75, give or take, entries this past weekend.
I think they had a couple hundred in Texas, and that tournament was outside, and it was hot.
Oh, yeah. I would imagine.
And everyone says, Cory beat those guys all breaking a sweat. Well, I got news for you. Both Cory and I were sweating before the match even started.
Yeah, that's that Texas heat. You got to love it,
So somebody asked me a question. Do I think who I think will win between John and Cory? Here is my one prediction I will make early. Cory will win the first match. I don't know what's going to happen after that. But Cory West will beat John Brzenk the first match.
I'll say this. Something happened to John after his match with Devin. Because what I see, and I want to use that, I don't want to use the word vicious, but what I see is that ever since that loss to Devin, and it might have been embarrassing, I don't know what it was, but something clicked.
Yeah.
And he is, it's on.
Yeah.
And he's a killer. He's taking everybody out one by one. You're in my way, smack, get the fuck out. Next person, smack, go away,
Yeah.
And you got Cory. So they're kind of doing this, right? So if I'm Cory, does Cory get a hold of Chance Shaw and go, hey, you pulled him last year. Tell me what I need to do. What lane did you find?
I don't know if he does that because Chance and Cory are so different stylistically.
True. However, they still pull John. They can, talk about something,
Yeah. So let's talk about the Hawthorne super matches, and then we'll go back into East versus West.
Yes. The first match was Ole Mazoy and Eli Sedov, which, that match, it was the best of 5, but it felt like that super match took about 25 minutes. It felt like that. I was reffing with Bill Collins, and a lot of set. Why? I mean, the setup is just, sometimes it can be aggravating. It's not so much the match, but it's all the hand fighting and all that kind of stuff. And then once you get everything set, they end up fucking slipping anyway, for the most part. But those guys like to go into a hook anyway, so it was good to see that. But
we forgot Sharkovich, buddy. But we'll go back to that one.
Damn it, yeah, I forgot. Sorry, Andre. But Ole, lost the first match, right? But he came back and won the next 3. I mean, just total dominant. You can tell when people get into their sweet spot how they can just lock it in, just sit there for a while. And, there's a good thing and a bad thing about that. When you have that lock, you're comfortable, you're tight, everything's good, but you're also exerting a lot of energy. Even in a comfortable spot, winning position, you are using a lot of energy, which means you only have so much time before the energy starts to do this. So at some point, you better pin, because if that's only match 1, you still got matches after that,
I saw it on TikTok.
That match went on TikTok?
There's a guy that's been posting super matches on TikTok. And look good.
Wow.
It was a fun match.
There you go.
It took a while. Frustrating, but TikTok is good because you don't watch the whole setup. You just kind of watch
the match itself.
Action.
Yeah. Match number 2, AJ Henson and Nat Fit, Jamie Sheldon.
AJ looked pretty in control. Did he win the match?
Yes, he won.
Yeah.
He won 3-0.
Yeah, it looked and
he's known for his left, by the way. So
yeah, AJ looked good, man. And AJ's always looked good. AJ is very underrated nationally.
Yeah. He doesn't have a social media, so he's kind of like those guys like Jerome Loud.
Yeah.
Real dominant, but you don't really hear from them a lot because they don't do the social media thing, They just go to tournaments, kick ass, drink beer, and go home. But he's very underrated. I mean, he lives in Wyoming with Cory Miller, so I mean, he's there if you need him. The main event was Tony Tomlinson, last minute, subbing in for Christian Benny versus Robbie Topi. And I personally did not ref that match because I want to sit back and see for myself what I'm getting myself into next month against Mr. One Robbie Topi. And Tony's a big dude. Tony's like 6'6", maybe 6'7". He's a big dude. I mean, if you haven't seen Tony Tomlinson, he was the King of California champion left-handed last year. And I'm telling you, the girth of that guy, the size, the long arm and everything, but Topi was able to pull it out. Topi, I mean, just controlled his hand. It was like, wow, very impressive. Very impressive.
Yeah, Robbie is coming back hard.
Yeah. So you think he had Michael Todd, right? Took the loss there. Wasn't the healthiest version of him, because he was coming off some other stuff. And then next, Kearney Ferguson says, Tony was 6'5", 360. If you need him.
Yeah.
But you seen Robbie Topi against God, who was it? He pulled Paul Passmore, he pulled Tomlinson this past weekend. So he's got some very impressive. I'm kind of lost for words because he was that damn impressive in the super match. So
GB says, Ryan, what do you think of Monster Michael Todd's focus hard on powerlifting Brandon Allen program type?
Ooh.
I don't know if he's doing that now or he's doing that in the future, but I mean, Michael does some things that fundamentally I would never do. Like trains in a very open position with his hands. So that softball thing that he has, I would never train with my hand open like that. It would be something more tight,
Right.
Little things like that. I mean, I don't think you find two arm wrestlers that train the same all the time.
So you have tell us your background. Don't you got like a powerlifting background you did once upon a time?
I was a professional strongman and powerlifter, for quite a while.
So let me ask you a question, honest question, because in using that formula for arm wrestling training, right? And granted, it may work for some, it may not work for others. But what is your personal opinion on that? When the Brandon Allen training, or whatever you want to call that, Eric Spoda or whatever, when you take that route, do you think that's going to be the one to be successful in this sport? Your thoughts?
No, I don't. I think it's too different. I think the closest thing to the training that we should do is more like Olympic weightlifting, where it's explosive power and not powerlifting, which is not necessarily explosive. It's more of a controlled plane of movement. If you were to try to explosive, like there's speed training in powerlifting, but just absolutely trying to accelerate as fast as you can in powerlifting could be detrimental.
Right.
I don't know. It's two very different sports, and I think arm wrestling needs to be its own thing and to be developed that way instead of just keep trying to emulate other sports training methods. The fundamentals of it, like the periodization and that kind of thing, have a place in arm wrestling. Absolutely they do. But almost micro periodization is how I train. So it's a week heavy followed by a week light.
And I'm not saying that, guys in the chat, if you're watching, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it. My point being is that when you rely strictly on that, then some of your game begins to fizzle or begins to, falter because your energy is so used to that. Then it's like, okay, well, when it comes to the table, you feel strong, but next thing you know, you're like, well, what the hell just happened? I'm feeling not my strongest. I'm like, well, yeah, because you're training like you're going to a powerlifting meet, not an arm wrestling tournament. Big difference.
Yeah. I am a better arm wrestler now that I'm only benching 500 than when I was getting over 6.
Right.
But I haven't actually had 500 pounds on a bar in quite some time.
I don't really focus so much on how much I can bench, anymore. My joints, for one. But
for some people, it's psychological, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to, because when you start bench pressing those big numbers and stuff, and deadlifting all those big numbers, it takes every ounce of your body energy that zaps you out. You ain't gonna have time to do any kind of training or whatnot. But that's neither here nor there. I just want to get that out there because you have mentioned that. I just want to get your thoughts on that. But let's get back to the East versus West, sir.
Well, let's talk about Sharkovich first because he looked awesome.
Yes, let's do that.
And there's not a lot to talk about. I mean, his opponent looked solid. Like,
I wonder if it's a mismatch. It might look good on paper. Hell, I'll use my match coming up as an example. On paper, Robbie Toby should wipe the floor with me. Bottom line, he should just wipe the floor with me. And then when it's all said and done, yeah, Jody. And I even got, comments. Love your buddy, but I think you've bit enough more you can chew. And I probably did. I probably did. But Sharkovich, I think might have been one of those situations where his opponent,
his opponent looked like he was in there a little bit after round one. But Andre looked really solid, and he's getting better all the time.
Yeah. But yeah, congrats to Sharkovich. I always wonder with these big matches that once they come and go, what's next for them? I've always wondered that. So
yeah. Gorilla Arms, do you feel diminished in any way after COVID? I don't really want to answer the question, Gorilla Arms, because I don't want to, I hate making excuses, man, but so I'll just leave it at it. It is what it is, and I got some rebuilding to do.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't want to, sit there and do all that kind of stuff. So but yeah, Sharkovich, good job, buddy. So once again, climbing up the ladder.
So what match do you want to start with in East versus West? Because we already did a couple.
It was a me. It seemed like did some guys have two matches?
Lots of guys had two matches. Like Matt Mask had a right and a left. Marcio had a right and a left.
Didn't Paul then have a right and a left also?
I don't know if Paul had a left. I don't think so. Also, Morozov had a right and a left, and I think Prudnik had a right and a left.
Yes. And I wondered, because the East versus West is so big now, and everyone spends so much time focusing on their actual main event match that when they get tossed another match in there, makes me wonder, do they even care about that? Is it, important? I always wonder that because like Ron Bath, right? He had two matches in the East versus West, number 2, I believe.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, does that drain a lot of energy? I think we talked about that before, what it does to somebody. I don't know. Yeah, Snap B says Paul is right-handed only. Okay, cool. Then thanks for answering, because there are times, I'm like I said, I'm at the venue. I'm setting up, shop and everything, and I'm looking, oh yeah, Paul Lynn's always kicking ass, and then like later on I see him again, I'm thinking, do you have two matches? So there was so much going on I really couldn't tell. But I will say this though, I'm glad Marcio won. Looked very explosive, and he was able to keep his elbow on the pad like Kenny Ferguson explained earlier. But I'm so glad for that, because I've always thought, and like you said, Ryan, that bar none probably has, aside from John, has probably the most international experience out there. And his knock was always the elbow foul. That was always his one knock, and he fixed that. I'm glad he did.
Yeah. We go into something like, we'll keep answering these questions as we go too, because they're fun. Does Cory have something for Kadecha on the left? Maybe, but the hole that I found, that was asked too. I think it's more in the hand. And Kadecha will attack Cory's hand like crazy. I think it's an interesting enough match that it should happen.
I wonder what Ingen's thinking. Ingen's got to be like, okay, let's do this, because now it seems like when we put our guys from the West out there after the results, you kind of go, it seems like our guys are kind of doing this. Because you don't want to keep sending the same guys over there after loss, right? So now that Paul Lynn won, okay, I'm sure he's about to go back over there. John Brzenk won, Todd Hutchings won, Marcio won, but Matt Mask took a couple losses. Didn't he lose at the initial East versus West?
I don't remember who he pulled, but yes, Matt hasn't. I I don't want to be offensive. I just don't know when the last time Matt won a super match was. I honestly don't. Would it be?
You're not being mean, Ryan. It's just the facts because he went to East First West. It seemed like East First West 1 took place like 3 years ago, but he didn't come out victorious. He lost to Tim Brezsny, right? And then he didn't do too well this past weekend. So
yeah, and I don't think those were good matches. Like Matt's not known for his left arm, and they stuck him against Morozov, who has got an amazing left arm. And then they put him against, maybe one of the top 2 guys that were on the whole card. Maybe the best guy on the whole card, to be honest with you. Like Prudnik he's a world elite.
Yeah.
So sticking Matt against him, Matt that says he wants to have a rematch. Well, no, you don't. Not right now, man. Like, I mean, Matt talked in his video about all his bad habits that he needs to change. Well, you can't be an athlete at that level while you're smoking a pack of cigarettes a day and partying and doing all other kinds of stuff. And he said that he's changing all that stuff when he gets home, and his family's on board to help him, and he's going to get on track. So
he smokes cigarettes?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
And yeah, he's got some work to do. So it's unless he's just talking about weed.
Oh, okay. Well, because I don't think smoking cigarettes is probably the best thing for people to arm wrestling. I mean, what do I know? But
his comments, he commented about the comments that he saw about Matt being out of breath. So he was commenting about the other people talking about that, and they said Matt's out of breath already. Well, yeah, when you have those bad habits, you got to have some cardio. So I think Matt's going to go home, and maybe it was finally an eye opener for him what he's got to do. But I mean, he can't just rely on other things to get him there. It's time to start, living like those European guys do, where arm wrestling is their profession. If you're going to treat it like a business, then put more effort into it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It all depends on what you want out of the sport. I mean, Matt Mass is one of the elites, in my opinion. He's just running into a bunch of walls right now, and I wonder if that is a situation where he's been off more than he can chew. But again, it all depends on if you're going to be a part of this card with all these awesome pullers, then you got to really sit back and go, okay, look at everybody else training, because Todd Hutchings will put his training plan on YouTube. Michael Todd puts his stuff on YouTube. John, not so much because he doesn't train like those guys, but they're going all in. If I'm going to go across the pond and go to Istanbul, Turkey, I got to make sure I get all my shit together,
And you got to start doing it now. Like, you can't wait until you get the call from England to start training. Like, you got to be training the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, Ryan, what about you? When you were training, when Neil said, hey, how about, we do the Arm Wars thing with you and Alex, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, I'm already training. Now I'm going to double time my training now because now I got the call. Is it something like that?
No, because I'm already at a level where if I double my training, I just throw myself into overtraining.
Oh,
you know what I mean? So, I mean, I'm already training really hard. You can tweak a few things and add a few things, but it's to focus on a guy. But let's also not forget that, my focus on that match was Chance Shaw.
Yeah.
Like, it was supposed to be Chance
was the
Shaw.
original.
Yeah. And then it was a 4-way, and Derek was supposed to pull Alex.
Mm-hmm.
And, we all know what happened.
I still want to see that, by the way.
Well, I got a ways to go before my right hand comes back.
Right.
But I'm going to start training it. Like, I'm not going to wait anymore. It's ready to start being trained. So who knows? I got 5 weeks till nationals. So we'll get on track here.
What do you think about Todd Zill's performance?
The freight train keeps on going, man. Like, he's I don't know what the hell to say about Todd Zilla that I haven't already said. Like, he's getting younger. He's fucking Benjamin Button. Like, he's like he's getting better with age. I can't believe it.
And just like I said, when about the John thing, where when he lost to Devin, something happened. Same thing with Tadzilla. When he lost to Zoliov at that East versus West, something triggered, right?
Yeah.
So and now it's just been like, okay, now I'm gonna, I'm killing everybody on the table. So maybe this takes that one match to realize, oh crap, I better get my act together, Matt Mask, and just start killing everybody, right?
Todd went like he didn't go on the same kind of a skid, but he did take some losses. And maybe he got a little lazy, and then he got his ass kicked, and he got right back on track. And it was quick turnaround. Like it was not like we think he's washed up and finished kind of turnaround. We think that he's, we think Todd's gonna start steamrolling guys, and he did.
Yeah.
When he took the hard matches and leveled up.
Big time. Big time.
Now, where's the ceiling for Hutchings? I don't know. I don't know where it is.
You know what, Ryan? It's almost like you expect it to happen. Like I expect, because it's been so dominant ever since, Zoliov, that you just expect him to go 3-0 on everybody. Everybody, 3-0, 3-0. If it's 3-1, we kind of say, what happened?
Well, GB says Prudnick next. Why not?
I like that.
It's a good match.
I like that. I think Todd still has a match with Marcio in September.
Also a good match, but
yeah,
it's got to favor, as much as I think Marcio is an animal, Hutchings is he's next level.
And then we got Chaffee, which I felt bad. I don't know why. I just felt like, what? Okay. The first match, I was like, okay, yeah, we're good. Dave's got this. And then it was like, it kind of went back and forth after that.
Chaffee, to me, looks like he's in better shape physically, fitness-wise.
Yeah.
But doesn't look as thick as he used to. Now, I don't know what he's changed, but it's almost like he needs to have that little extra weight.
He looks a little, I don't know. I think everybody looks skinnier compared to Levon, but it just seems like, because he was so dominant. Who did he pull after Levon? Was it Kordeka he pulled?
Yeah, and he looked amazing there. But I remember, if you go all the way back to when he pulled Dennis, and he beat Dennis, he looked almost a little bit chubby, and it looked like there was some power there. And not to say that he doesn't have that now. Maybe he's just as strong and everyone else is leveled up. But I think Dave needs to, or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he just needs to do some evaluating and come back. Like, I mean, Chaffee's still an elite.
There's that happy medium, right? You got to find that recipe. And that's something I'm doing right now currently, just trying to find that happy medium. Woke up yesterday morning at 2:37, not where I want to be. Because once you start getting bigger, then all of a sudden your game starts to slip a little bit. So I don't know if it was one of those deals. I don't want to get caught up in the size game, with certain people, because then all of a sudden it takes away from what you want to do, right? We've seen that with Dimitri Trubin, like, okay, I'm going to play the size game, and then his arm wrestling skills falter, and I got to be careful because I don't want to get yelled at like I did last week. So about the Trubin comment, but as you get bigger, there's a certain diameter where you get too big, then it starts to go against you, right? So maybe it was one of those things where Dave's like, you know what? I want to work more on stamina. Still keep my strength, but work more on stamina. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. Stack says Dave's neck surgery, he lost all his weight before he was 132 kilos. In his own words, since 2018, he never gained that weight again. He says it's too hard for him. So there you go.
There you go. Oh, I like that.
Let's not forget that when Dave won WAF, he was 242.
True.
Yeah. Ryan, do you think Gennady beats Larrett? I don't know. I think Devin's pushing the limits of preparation here, so we'll see. I mean, but if Levon handles him, then I think it's the start of a few guys doing that to him.
Right. And I hope, with this, it's almost like, all right, already, let's go. Devin, Levon, let's go. But we still got another, X amount of weeks to go.
Yeah, we got a while.
So, but what do you think? I mean, there's 2 more matches I want to hit on. Michael Todd, where do you see him going from now? I mean, now he's taken 2 losses in a row.
God damn, he's taken a few, yeah, but I mean, with the right arm, it's more than that, isn't it?
Because
he beat
pulled
Topi was his last win.
that was his left though.
Yeah, that was his left.
So the last 2 matches right-handed, he took L's. I'm thinking, okay, and I'm like going, okay. And it seemed like match 1, yeah, it seemed like he's hitting, but he's hitting and keeping his hand here. So he's like that. But as long as he has that, he's fine. But when it goes this way, that's when he's in trouble,
Yes. And I don't know what's next because the King's move lock does not seem to be stable anymore. People are figuring it out, how to get through it or around it. I don't know where he goes from here. He needs to pull maybe somebody back home,
Well, he has Todd Hutchings in July.
He does. And that will tell a story right there about where he's really at. I mean, I don't know. Father Time is undefeated, and everyone's getting up there, but I don't know what Michael does next.
Good morning, Mr. Cody Merritt. Thanks for joining us on the show. He is in the house. All right, steroids are the devil. He says, Ryan, are you still training your basic gym lifts? I think you just got to get your overall strength back. Oh, the thing keeps running up in here. Higher, bigger bench, bigger chin up, bigger deadlift, etc. Levon, Dennis, we're always strong at those. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I need to change is go back to some of that stuff and maybe start doing some overall strongman type stuff again to get back on track here. I think that's one of the things. There's some other things, but I mean, stuff that's outside my control a little bit. Billy has a question. I'm curious what you think about this, Jody.
Okay.
What is true arm wrestling prime until you start going back? Todd's still climbing. How long did it take? Do you guys think you can keep it up? And I have the example of this that I'd like to use.
That's tough because we'll use the East versus West. Have you noticed the ages of our guys that go over there and pull? We're all like in our 40s and over, whereas those guys over there, and they're like mid-20s to 30s on an average. Yeah. So I don't know what the prime is. Maybe because those guys over there, start the sport when they're like 13, 14 years old, where as us, Americans, we do other stuff. We're still in high school, football, basketball, baseball, what have you, at that age. So, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't have an answer for it, but I think you have an example.
Dave Hicks. You know who Dave Hicks is, Jody?
Oh, yeah.
He's probably the best arm wrestler, in my opinion, ever to come out of Canada. Didn't start until north of 40. So I think the prime for an arm wrestler is older if you're healthy. I think in the 40s can be your prime.
Right.
Yeah. So
I started this sport in 35 because before then I was doing the semi-pro football. I did, rugby and, club sports like that. And then, once my body physically couldn't do those sports anymore, and it was like, okay, I got to find something else to do. And I kind of stumbled upon this sport. But, even I thought, I only got like a 5-year window before I'm done. But, 12 years later, here I am thinking, you know what? Yeah. This is pretty cool. So,
but Jody, you're not an enhanced athlete either. So I mean, there's avenues for you to stay around.
Yeah.
Forever. Like there's the masters, grandmasters, ultra grandmasters, going to the world, seeing the world. There's lots of things for us to do. Even when we decide, we might not pull the open class anymore.
And I'm gonna say it once, as always, in front of you and everybody in the chat and everybody, my neighbors, so they can hear too out there. I'm gonna say, look, everyone has a different goal. Am I an elite puller? No, I'm not. I'll be the first, second, and third person to admit that. But my goal is to be one of the most, dare say, dominant Masters pullers out there. I want to be that guy. I want to be that dominant guy in the Masters. So therefore, when I go to these tournaments, I'm pulling Masters and I'm pulling Open, because that's just where I see myself. If I ever want to win a world title or a national title, I have a better chance of doing that at the Masters level, period. There, I said it.
There you go. We have a super chat, Jody.
Let's go.
Sap the B, $10. I think that's Australian. I do have a question for Sap the B. Why does Devin Laird hate him so much? But
I don't know.
In my opinion, arm wrestling prime happens approximately 20 to 25 years after you start. For John, who started in his teens, that would be late 30s, 40s. For Todd Hutchings, who started at the age of 35, it is now. That is an interesting point. Sap the B, thank you.
Even Brzenk started, see, Stacks already got on there. They started late, and maybe, that old man strength.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
Arm wrestling is like not boxing. It's like a punch. What is the last thing to go on a boxer? His power. His punch.
Yeah, because how old are you, Ryan?
45.
See, you're 45. I'm 46. So, hey, we're we're climbing toward 50. You know what I mean? So
just hitting our stride.
Yeah. So it's good. But there's something to say about these young bucks who are just off the charts, just to have all the energy in the world and stuff. And I don't feel like I need to dabble in the supplements to keep up with some of these guys. That's not my forte. I don't plan on doing that.
Yeah.
That's just nothing I want to even associate myself with. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. It's there's an avenue. So if your ego can handle not being an elite for your entire career, you can be involved in arm wrestling for a very, very long time.
And speaking of age, every time I see John Brzenk, I'm like, that guy.
And the crazy thing about that, we're talking about that match now. I think he made it harder than it needed to be.
Yeah. I was worried for a second. I was like, uh-oh. But then he had that, that confident, okay, when it was 2-2, right? I was like, oh, shit. And all of a sudden, I'm thinking, John, and, we're at the bar, right? We're at the venue watching the match. So, the whole place, stopped to watch that match. So you got Bill Collins over watching. You got the Utah guys. You got Cody Merritt, Bob Brown. You got Topies over here. Me and Jamie Sheldon are sitting here watching it. AJ Hint. We're all watching it, right? And when John won that last match, match 5, the entire bar just went, yes. It was almost like, an Olympic win or something like that. It was good because it was like we were concerned. But then John got into that, that face he makes where he knows he has it.
Yep. Yeah.
That face he makes, we know he has it. And when he got to that face, I was like, uh-oh, here we go. Come on, John. Don't fuck around. Put this guy away and go forward. And when he did it, it was like, oh, yes. That's what it felt like.
Yeah. John is inspiring. And
yes.
I love watching him, man.
Ooh. Billy Berg says, Jody, did you know that me, Toddzilla, and Paul Lynn all started at 35 years old? I did. I knew you didn't. I knew Paul and Toddzilla did, and I started at 35. So I guess we should be the
Billy. I love that you put yourself in the category of Mr. Toddzilla and Paul Lynn.
But yeah, I mean, I guess there is something to be said about starting late in life, But again, I mean, when did you start, Ryan? When did you start pulling?
21 years old, 1997.
Oh, see? Well, there you go. But you're decorate, though, because even though you started then, you were able to go to WAF. Didn't you go to Tokyo and other places
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So you were able to do that kind of stuff. You had all the experiences. So yes, you were able to do those things and say, hey, kudos. I want to be able to do that one of these times, but we'll see what this sport has in store for me.
ASAP the Bee has answered my question. He hates me because I called him out for disrespecting his opponents, which is true.
Right.
Also because I said he doesn't have a single right-handed pin against Europeans or a single international tournament win.
Was that the because I remember a while ago, it was on one of the Neil Pickup shows, The Fix, and they had everybody on there. Like Michael Todd was on there, Ingen, Brzenk, Devin Larratt, and Neil, of course. And I guess Brzenk kind of went on and says, hey, well, that's weird that you've never gone as Zloty. That's weird that you never won a WAF. So I think the year he went to WAF, he finished behind Brzenk and Ron Bath in that class. But,
that's also quite a WAF class. Normally you wouldn't have John Brzenk and Ron Bath in your class at WAF.
Yeah, so there's always that. But Brzenk said something along those lines, but he's done the PAL stuff, But I
also believe that was a left-handed class because Ron and John both went to pull that big cash tournament that was happening in conjunction with WAF.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that is a correct statement. And unfortunately, that's true.
But it's but why would someone get all sensitive about that? I don't understand,
I don't know, because Devin gets sensitive about things that, when he doesn't like them.
As much as he cracks on other people, joke it or not, why would he get hurt? Why?
Madness over here.
Is the mailman over there or what?
Must be.
You must got a package coming in the mail.
Yeah. Dogs don't approve.
Nice.
It's yeah, I don't know. I don't want to talk about Devin too much because
I get it. Sorry I brought it up. Sorry.
No, I completely have no problem saying stuff.
Even the dogs agree, Richard said.
About him. But I mean, I don't share his values. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And I'll get hate for that, but I would much rather pull guys like Michael and Cory than, subject myself to all the bullshit that comes with taking a match with him.
It is what it is, my friend. It is what it is.
Levon is kind of experiencing that now, but has managed to just stay quiet in light of being called all kinds of things and all kinds of stuff. I hope he's just not watching.
Well, I mean, maybe because Levon can't understand what the fuck he's saying. So there's always that, right? Like, that'd be like somebody from Europe, bashing on me in their own language. If I don't understand what the hell they're talking about, it's not going to affect me one way or the other.
Yeah, that's true.
So maybe it's that, but maybe Levon has guys around him that says, hey, you know what? Focus on your training. Don't worry about that. Because, it's almost like when I was coaching youth football, and you got those parents, how come my son's not starting, blah, 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 blah. Well, we had one of the moms was kind of the filter for that. So the coaches can just focus on coaching.
Yeah.
And the moms will take care of all the questions from the parents. And maybe where I'm going with that is maybe that Levon has guys around him where, hey, we'll filter that. You just focus on the training.
Yep. Zap the B, another super chat, $5. The reason I said these things was because of the things he said during the John match and his fans saying he was the GOAT over John. It was a response. Completely agree, Zap the B. It's a very, what is the word? Recency bias statement to say that Devin is the GOAT over John. There is no evidence for that whatsoever.
If John were to stop arm wrestling after Wall 2016. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
He beat Devin. He'd still be the GOAT. But, how many times have John, okay, I'm done, I'm retired now, then he comes back.
Yeah.
I think I'm good now, my shoulder, then he comes back. So it's kind of like his legacy just keeps climbing. And the thing is, though, what's making it more, the path he's taking is that he's taking these matches and winning here, winning here, winning here. Devin will take a match, win, won't pull for 6-7 months. But in that 6th, 7th month window, he's had these time off. John is still pulling and winning. So,
yeah.
And
it's kind of the same thing that always happens. And by the time that the rematch is ready to happen, the Alexei Vovodas of the world have retired and already been banned from the Olympics.
There you go. See what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
I don't know. Everyone has a different path in the sport. So, I just say, do what you do, folks. Do what you do.
Yeah.
Whatever that might be.
We almost got 50 people watching, Jody. That's almost a record for us.
I hope you guys hit the like button.
Yeah, they better. What other match did you want to cover from East versus West?
I think that might have been it. I'm still wondering, with all these matches going on, what is Vitaly doing right now?
I don't know. Stuck in Russia. Like, I don't know what's going on.
Can he move or something? Because it's like, he's the one guy. It's like, when you talk about all these big names and having matches and stuff like that, he is the one guy that just gets left off the map because he hasn't done anything. I don't know because he can or cannot, but it's like, what is going on over here?
And Salayev's name's getting thrown around a little bit. I believe that somebody mentioned Salayev versus Cory West as a match, which would be a crazy match.
Mm-hmm.
But when was the last time we saw Salayev pull? The last I heard, he was going to be in jail for a while.
Yeah. Steroids of the Devil said he's the Jerry Catterett of the East. Yeah. Serious. I mean, honestly, those two guys, seriously, it's like they're out there. So if you want to talk about the rankings when everybody was making a big fuss about it, yes, Jerry has not pulled. So if you go by the rules, then yeah, why would I put somebody up there when you haven't pulled in like fucking almost 3 years, give or take? But we all know in our minds that he's up there. But I'm not sure what he's waiting on. Both guys, honestly. I don't know if it's for Vitaly is because he cannot, because of whatever's going on over there in Russia. I assure you that the same stuff ain't happening over here in the States. So I'm not sure why Jerry's not pulling. But I do remember that he was on Paul Italia's podcast and said, he has limited weekends off from work because he works his ass off. And a lot of those are allocated to his vacations with his family. So it has
why
to
doesn't
make
he
sense
just
for
pick
him.
a weekend and somebody can build an event around him?
I say, you know what needs to happen? You know what would draw money? It takes a hell of a promoter, but double main event, co-main event. Ready for this one? I'd say if you're gonna do it, fuck it. Have the same day, and I say this might be too much money, but have the same day where you go, hey, let's finally make this happen. Chance Shaw versus Jerry Catterett, one co-main event. Derek Smith, Dave Chaffee, the other co-main event. It's just too much talking about let's do this, but not enough movement.
I agree. Do it.
That's what needs to happen.
Yeah. So, Jody, what do we got going on next weekend?
For me, I don't know. I know my event's coming up June 11th, and I'm pulling Robbie Topi. I know provincials are coming up for you. You said what? How many weeks?
Provincials are done. Nationals are in.
Or nationals, yeah.
In 5 weeks, I think we have to train. So, time to get our shit together here, and hopefully everything gets rolling.
Right.
As far as recovery and stuff, and we get going right away. I think Spencer and I are training tomorrow morning again. So
good. A month from now, we have the IFA Nationals in Irving, Texas here. So we went from one national last month to, or earlier this month, and then we're going to another national, so IFA, and that qualifies you for the IFA Worlds, which will be taking place right outside of France, Paris, France. So
yeah. Joe said Derek should pull Cory instead of Dave after that performance.
Been saying that since day one.
Derek should pull Cory instead of Dave. I think Cory should pull Dave.
That probably makes more. You know what? I think what you said earlier makes more sense. Matt Mask and Derek Smith. That probably, because for guys who are like 6'8", 6'5", long arms, power, because I think Matt might have been bitten off more than he can chew lately. And I think Derek said, okay, I'm going to skyrocket my ass over here. And then, I don't want to make this sound bad when I say he fell flat on his face, but 3-0 is 3-0, right? So maybe that might have been a little bit out of his league. Maybe come back down to the guys here instead of going for the guys up there. Now you know where you stand at here. Just bring it back a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what you see at Matt Mask.
Agreed.
So, yeah, that was a good observation on your part.
So, should we wrap it up this week, Jody?
Let's do it.
I'm a titch out of sorts today. I apologize for that, but we'll definitely be ready to roll with whatever news happens after the weekend.
Oh, I'm going to make an announcement too, because I was checking my stuff, and later this week, I'm going to get together with a certain guest, and this arm wrestling thing is really going to blow up. So be prepared for that coming up.
Yeah. The Lachlan matches are happening this weekend. That's what we got to talk about next week. But
Lachlan versus Jaggers, right?
Yeah, and Pavlo.
Yes.
So that's what we can talk about on Monday.
Yes, we can do that. Everybody, yes. I love it. Hope everybody had a good weekend.
Right on.
I know I did right here. See that? I had a good weekend.
You did. Nice work.
So, yes, everybody, thanks for joining us on the Can-Am Connection. And as always, join us again on Monday.
All right, my friend. We'll see you in a week.
Yes, sir. We'll see you soon.